You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Thank you so much for tuning back in for part 2 of this weekend's Cabral House Calls. Yesterday, we answered a bunch of questions, everything ranging from applying for the concierge medical practice. We had applications about acne linked to digestive-based issues, prostatitis, which is swelling of the prostate. Just yesterday, this was episode 883. I'm not able to consume a lot of water, not nearly enough for their body. So many great questions. So hopefully you'll tune back into that show. That was episode 883, and that's stephencabral.com/883. Today, all the questions, all of the show notes, as always, will be at stephencabral.com/884. That's today's show notes page. But after looking at today's questions, I just gave them a read over to see what we had in store, and they are some great ones. But what we have here today are about 3 of them are repeats. So basically, I shouldn't say repeats, but it's a topic that I've talked in depth about, and you'll see that in just a moment. So what I'm going to do is simply point back to previous podcasts. And the reason I'm going to do that is so that everyone who has a new question or a new topic is able to bring that up on the Cabral Concept. And then what that allows me to do is send everyone to Stephen Cabral, and I'm going to go there myself right now. Go to stephencabral.com/podcasts. Now, the nice thing about this page is that, where are we at? 884 shows. Okay. So over those 844 shows, now the best thing to do would be to go back, listen to all of the shows, because of course your functional medicine education will grow and grow and grow. But the other thing you can do is, whenever you want to tune back, is just type in a search word. So for example, today, I'm going to read the first question, and there are items that I've talked about many times. Now, this wasn't the questioner's first question, but she should go back and she should tune into the shows concerning PCOS and endometriosis. So I'm going to chat about those, but let's get right into the show, and then I can show you the best way to always be able to find out your answers, typically before I even answer them on a Cabral House Call. So let's get started. All right. Carla's up first. Her question is, I have PCOS and possibly endometriosis and some type of thyroid dysfunction. These two haven't been officially diagnosed, but I have some symptoms that have led me to believe that I think I may have them. As I learn more about my condition and how to heal myself through lifestyle and supplements, I also try to get rid of the toxins, do detoxes, eat well, and exercise. However, I've worked with fire-resistant garments for almost 15 years of my life. And recently I learned that fire retardants are endocrine disruptors. I'm not able to immediately leave that field of work. Is there any way I can protect myself? I recently started wearing gloves, but they are plastic, which is possibly not ideal either, and a cotton mask to keep from breathing in the fibers. What would you recommend? I'm not exactly sure how bad it is to continue working like this, or is it something I can do? Definitely need to get away from this as soon as possible. Thank you for your guidance. Okay, Carla, great questions. Now, as I was alluding to previously, you can go to stephencabral.com/podcasts. I should just say, very simply, type in PCOS, and you will literally get a bunch of house call questions on how to figure out if you have PCOS and how to reverse those symptoms and the underlying root causes of PCOS in the first place. Now, endometriosis, same exact thing. You'll type in endometriosis at stephencabral.com/podcasts, and you'll get all of those previous shows. Thyroid, we have lots of podcasts. We specialize a lot in working with people with thyroid-based issues, because we work with thyroid, we work with adrenal, we work with hormone, infertility, estrogen dominance, all of those same type of issues. Now, keep in mind, you're right, and I talk about all of these things in the rain barrel effect, where we talk about how hormones are disrupted from plastics and fire flame retardant garments that you work with. So you're on the right track, and until you can maybe get into a less harmful or less toxic environment, we would typically recommend some type of glove. Now, maybe someone at our Cabral support group would have an even better suggestion, but I can tell you right now, you can use medical grade latex gloves, and you can get them from a natural source, latex being a natural rubber. You can get latex gloves if you have a latex allergy. You can get nitrile gloves, nitrile, it's Nitrile, or vinyl. I don't recommend the vinyl gloves, and I think the vinyl gloves are much more toxic, so I would stay away from those. Now, of course, whenever you take them off, do make sure you wash your hands before eating or before anything like that as well. The other thing you will want to do is you're wearing a mask, which is a really good idea because you do not want to breathe in any of those fibers, any gases that may be in the air. I don't know if you're in dry cleaning or anything like that, but that would be a different story. You could obviously find a mask that would allow for that. And then the other thing I would do is I would just make sure, usually I would always recommend pulling your hair up, maybe keeping it under wraps as well so that you can just wash whatever you wrap your hair up in, or just if it's something that's disposable, toss it out. So I think, Carla, you're on the right track. Definitely check out the Rain Barrel Effect and all previous shows on that, but that'll be the way that you're able to keep yourself away from as many of those, or away from as much of that harmful flame retardant material as possible. All right, Kate's up next. Kate's asking, hi, Dr. Brawl. I had my gallbladder removed 10 years ago, but didn't drastically alter my diet until about 3 years ago. I eat a mainly paleo lifestyle, occasional legumes, and I've discovered through recent blood work that I have deficiencies in a number of areas, specifically vitamin D, and with my thyroid, I'm well outside of the optimal range, but still normal. I take 3,000 IUs of vitamin D each day, but after researching, saw that having no gallbladder can lead to the inability to absorb fat-soluble vitamins, as well as possibly affect thyroid and even cholesterol. Is there a way to overcome this? If I were to start taking your daily digestive enzymes, could that help my vitamin absorption? Thank you. Okay, Kate, really great question. Thank you for writing in with this. And the answer is yes and yes on both accounts. So what we want to do is, when you don't have a gallbladder, you want to make sure that you're not on an overly high-fat diet in the first place. I don't think that makes sense, especially since you're asking your body to do a lot more work by liver alone without having that gallbladder. So I recommend taking the daily digestive enzyme, which does contain proteases for protein. It contains all sorts of different amylase and cellulase and all different ACEs, all different basically sugar-based metabolizers for your carbohydrates. And then it contains lipase for your fat. Now, you can do additional lipase enzyme if you would like. That will certainly help. Or you can also take ox bile. And if you're vegan, of course, you're not going to do this, but you're on a paleo-based diet. I'm assuming you're not paleo or pagan, as some people call it, paleo-vegan or paleo-vegan. And so what I recommend in this position is that you, and I'll link this up very, very simply, and just go to stevecabral.com/podcast, and I'll make it really easy and just type in our ox bile of choice right there. So that's that we can do for your digestion. You'll go easy on the heavy fats. I don't think that's a great idea. And then the other part is our vitamin D, our liquid vitamin D. You can choose the product, of course, that you feel comfortable with, but our liquid vitamin D lasts over a year. It's very inexpensive, and it's emulsified with the MCT oil. If you take that with a whole food meal and you take a digestive enzyme, then you're going to be able to bring those vitamin D levels back up. In terms of thyroid, well, we'll want to look at where are you in terms of your thyroid-based minerals, such as selenium and zinc and iodine. So you can check that out. Our daily thyroid support is literally hands down the best thyroid product that I know. So I would certainly use that along with the vitamin D. And then you could run a thyroid hormone adrenal panel to really get all of that. Or if you've been diagnosed with Hashimoto's, you could run a complete thyroid test for toxicity of the thyroid, meaning arsenic or mercury. So we test for all those things, cadmium, bromium. So check that out. Again, two great tests. And again, all of these lab tests are available at equilibriumnutrition.com or, of course, every day at the show notes. All right, Julie's up next. What is Julie asking? She's saying, Dear Dr. Brawl, a friend of mine suggested your podcast last week, and I've binge listened to ever since. I've dealt with different issues such as candida and fatigue. I overcame candida with an elimination diet, or maybe so I thought. I've had my thyroid tested and it's normal. All my markers are normal, except they found I have kidney disease. They were not able to find the root cause. My filtration rate is currently at 46. The nephrologist stated that since I am an athletic build, that is why I'm currently dealing with mood and fatigue. So if you can point me in the right direction of testing and why, that would be very helpful. All right, Julie, I'm not going to read your last name. I only do first names only, so I'm just going to erase out that last name. All right, so Julie, for your nephrologist to tell you it's because you're an athletic build and that you have kidney disease, it's irresponsible in my opinion. Again, I'm sure they're an amazing nephrologist. I have no doubt about it. But to say someone who's an athletic build should have kidney disease, maybe I might be misreading it. So I'm going to blame myself because usually, again, I usually do blame myself when I read things out of context for sure. So here's the deal though. I mean, you can't just say, oh, well, I have an athletic build, so I'm going to have kidney disease. I don't believe that. Maybe what your nephrologist was saying is that you work out a lot or you exercise a lot, which can cause a lot of protein breakdown or tissue breakdown, and then the kidneys have to filter that protein, and then that could cause kidney issues. That's certainly it, but also leaky gut, intestinal permeability. I answered this last weekend on the Cabral HouseCall. That's certainly a reason why as well. Actually, I answered it yesterday on our Cabral HouseCalls. So you can tune into that, but here's the deal. We need to figure out what's going on. And in my opinion, I would run an organic acids test. And well, that's it. I would mainly run that test for sure. That's the main one. And then after that, I might run a stool test to look at E. coli overgrowth, Klebsiella, and other types of bacteria. So one of the biggest things I find with kidney disease is this. One is the diet's incompatible with the person. So that's one, it's causing a lot of inflammation. Number two is even if you got rid of the candida, you didn't seal up the gut wall. So that's number two. And let's say you did get rid of the candida. Well, then it won't show up in an organic acids test. So then that will prove you're in the clear. So that's why the organic acids test is my first choice for you. And then if there is an overgrowth, well, then I would simply do our gut rebuilding protocol is to seal up the gut wall so that when you're eating all of these different foods, that they're not spilling into your bloodstream, and then your bloodstream is then filtered through your kidneys, and then your kidneys are asked to do more work. So that's exactly what I would do, and I would make sure that you figure this out and fix this very, very quickly. And again, not to scare you like that, and it shouldn't, but I just don't want your kidneys to have to be filtering protein. That's a bit much. Now, there could be other things going on. I just didn't read that in your question. But if there is, of course, definitely get the advice and help and be put on a true protocol to be able to correct this, because I know that you can. So I wish you the best of luck, and I hope to hear a great success story from you soon inside of the Cabral support group. All right, Jill's up next. Hi, Dr. Paul. I have a friend who has achalasia. She has had the balloon dilation process done 2 to 3 times. It often works for a time, and then she has difficulty getting food down her esophagus. I'd love to hear your thoughts on diet info related to achalasia, the possibility of overcoming it, and steps she could take to find health healing. My understanding is that it's an autoimmune disease and can't be cured, but I know you've overcome Addison's. Any help direction would be amazing. Thank you so much for these house calls. All right, Jill, I'm going to answer this succinctly for you because this is not an autoimmune disease. We've worked with multiple people in our practice, and we've helped every single person with achalasia. Here's why, is because doctors do not know how to treat it. But as a naturopathic doctor, I do not treat or diagnose any disease. Someone comes in with achalasia. Here's what we do. We see it as an innervation and overexcitation of the sympathetic nervous system, which does not allow the sympathetic nervous system to turn on while eating or swallowing, which is exactly its role. So that's the thing. It was like, if you truly understand the anatomy and physiology of the body and how it works, you can begin to look at how things should happen. So if I say, oh, someone's eating and they can't swallow, what I'm saying is, okay, why isn't or is not the parasympathetic nervous system turning on to basically calm and allow for that peristaltic movement to happen? Because peristalsis is not an action a human takes. It's not. If we had to think about it, we would literally swallow like 14 times to be able to get the food down into our stomach from our esophagus, because the moment we swallow, there's still a foot to get down, but basically before that stomach. So here's the deal. We run what's called a adrenal hormone test, or if they want to go all in, which I would recommend, do a thyroid adrenal hormone test and a hair tissue mineral analysis. This is going to show you sympathetic nervous system dominance. It will show you stress. We literally help this all the time. So this is the barbaric nature of conventional medicine. To dilate someone's esophagus with a balloon is completely insane and can lead to an overstretching of the esophagus, which could damage it in the long run. I mean, this is akin to using a sledgehammer to nail a thumbtack into a wall. Like, that's literally it. Or to water your garden with a fire hose. Like, that's conventional medicine. Like, that is not a smart way to do things. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to find out the underlying root causes. Your friend has at least some type of stress, some type of anxiety. Most people I work with, excuse me, I'm losing my voice. It's just getting dry. So what's happening is this. Usually it's someone who's just a little bit more anxious in nature, or someone who gets a little bit too stressed or a little bit too fired up. And that just keeps that sympathetic nervous system on. We do essentially the deep sleep protocol at night. We use the adrenal soothe. We do a lot of things like that to just calm that body down. But first run the adrenal hormone or thyroid adrenal hormone. And then on top of that, run the hair tissue mineral analysis. But here's the deal. Go back and just type in achalasia. Go to StephenCabral.com/podcast. Type in achalasia. I've answered this question in depth and you'll be able to check it out there. Thank you for that question, Jill. Hopefully your friend gets the help that they deserve. And to be honest, I know that they can figure this out because we really do this all the time in my practice. And I wouldn't tell you that if I didn't mean it, because I would not want to get your hopes up. All right. Cloud is up next. Cloud's asking, hi, don't know if you already talked about this on your podcast. Elderly falls, sarcopenia. Is there anything I can do for my 93-year-old dad? Thank you, from Quebec, Canada. Or Quebec, Canada. So, here's the deal. Would love to help you in depth with this. And we do. We talk about this all the time on our Training Thursdays. We talk about it with just making sure that you strengthen your bones. So what I'm recommending for sarcopenia is to make sure that your dad gets a diet that's low inflammatory, that's not acidic. A lot of people say, oh, no big deal, no such thing as acid or alkaline. But, the truth is, yes, your blood's going to buffer the acidity in food. I totally agree with that. But it's going to do it by sacrificing some of the minerals in your body as well. And one of those would namely be calcium. But also, when your body's not able to digest food well enough, then you can actually get this thing called sarcopenia rather than osteopenia, which is the bones. Sarcopenia would be a muscle wasting as well. So 2 days a week of strength training. I'm going to give you the outline. 2 days a week of strength training. Okay, we're going to get that body moving. And we are going to use weights. We're going to use some type of resistance, even if that means in the beginning just getting your dad on a stable surface, moving some weight. Great. That's what we're going to do. We're going to get a diet with enough protein. Okay, we're not going to go overboard with protein. We're going to do easy to digest foods. Ideally, our daily nutritional support every morning. And we're going to do that as a smoothie. So it's an easy way to get in some vegan protein with a lot of antioxidants to help obviously with free radical damage as you're aging. And then easy to digest foods through the rest of the day. Very, very simple, very straightforward. Another big one is using digestive enzymes as you age. I can't recommend that enough. It's going to help break down all of your food, your carbs, your proteins, your fats. So the daily digestive enzyme is one I would put in there. I'll make sure I put that in the show notes today, Cloud. So daily digestive enzyme, easy, we'll do that. And make sure as you age too, a lot of people don't drink as much water. They're not as hydrated. So water with a little pinch of sea salt and a squeeze of lime is great. And that's it. Now, again, would I run additional lab testing like the Dr. Ball Big 5? If your dad's able to do it, fantastic. If not, maybe you're just running a hair tissue mineral analysis, just to look at overall mineral levels. Maybe looking at an organic acids test as well to look at all of his vitamin levels. Just get some baselines. I think that's a great thing to do, and excited to hear that your dad hopefully is interested in doing these things as well, no matter what the age, because 93 sounds like a great age to get started to me. All right, great question. Elizabeth's up next. Really long question, so I am going to just basically give you the gist of this question, okay? So, dear Dr. Ball, found your podcast about 6 to 8 months ago after you appeared on EO Fire. My daughter was cured from her gut thyroid chronic EBV through holistic functional naturopathy, and it literally gave her her life again. She lives in Florida, and we live in the middle of the country, so thank you, so thankful. But today I'm writing about my husband. Genetically, he is challenged. By that I mean everyone in his family is or was obese. His 2 brothers died in their 50s, and let's say 2 sisters as well. Now they're riddled with fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, and both are overweight. The dad died of lymphoma at 72, and the mother of congestive heart failure at 82. At 40, my husband was diagnosed with prostate cancer, but considered cured from that. At 46, he developed progressive hip pain, and the joint was so eroded that he had to undergo hip replacement at 47. All the NSAIDs and steroids that he took for that in years prior led to acute renal failure before the replacement was done. Replaced the knee about a year ago. Let me give you the ad lib now. Okay, he's on a few different supplements. I can't recommend the brand that you're using, but I'm not going to name it over the air, Elizabeth. But it's not the highest quality brand. I'm just letting you know. Again, we're really big on functional medicine brands in general. You don't have to use Equilibrium Nutrition, which is the company that I formulate for, and my company. But I would just recommend a functional medicine company that third-party tests and that has much cleaner supplements. All right, so you just started saying he began gaining weight a couple years ago. He has higher levels of CRP, which is inflammation. He has higher levels of homocysteine, which is inflammation of the arteries. Let's see what else. He has slightly high triglycerides, slightly high cholesterol. He has high LDL. So basically, he has higher levels of cardiovascular-based inflammation. We'll put it at that. And then you're asking, what do we do about this? Okay, so let's do this. My advice is this, because I don't know, you're asking for your husband. And the hard thing is that I'd say my practice is at least 2/3 women and 1/3 men. And a lot of the women that come in, they say, I really want to get my husband on this plan. I really want to get him on this program. And I always say, I'd be happy to help. I'd be happy to help you in any way that I can, my team and I both. However, please don't force anyone to come to see me or one of my team members. And the reason is that they're just not ready yet. Wait till they're ready. Start to get them into it. So I don't know if your husband's ready yet for lab testing. A lot of guys love the lab testing, women as well, because they're database. Like guys are just kind of like, show me the numbers, show me the numbers. So I'm like, hey, here's the numbers. And, like, hey, you tested positive for candida overgrowth and Clostridium difficile. We should probably get rid of this, don't you think? And they're like, okay, yeah, let's get rid of that. And I'm like, here's how you do it. And I just literally present the plan. And then I say, hey, look at your mineral levels. You're low on zinc right now. You're low on selenium. You're low on chromium. You could probably use more minerals. Okay, so we start doing a smoothie. Like, okay, that makes sense. And then I show them what their toxicities are. I'm like, you have a little bit of aluminum overload. And they say, hey, I read about that. And doesn't that potentially lead to Alzheimer's? And I said, yes, potentially can lead to Alzheimer's because of free radical damage and oxidative stress and all those different types of things. And like, okay, how do we get rid of that? And then I just show them our heavy metal detox. So sometimes the numbers are great. It just depends on the person. But if your husband's not ready yet, what I can recommend is this, is I recommend a 21-day Dr. Cabral detox, and then follow that up by maintaining as close as you can to that diet plan with a once a week, maybe twice a week cheat meal. So it would look like this, 21-day detox, and then you get off of it, and then you go to the smoothies every morning, which you can make a delicious smoothie. We have a free smoothie report you can download anytime you want by just going to any of the podcast pages. Just click on the image, literally, that says free smoothies or a smoothie recipe guide. And he can, so basically 21-day detox, smoothie every morning, doing the Dr. Cabral daily protocol, literally less than $5 a day. You can get all the nutrition he needs for a day and all the antioxidants from 22 organic fruits and vegetables that he probably isn't eating. So that would get that in the daily fruit and vegetable blend. And then maybe try a vegan-based lunch. And then after that, for dinner, he can do whatever protein or whatever he would like. I mean, that's a great long-term plan that I essentially follow myself. Most people in my practice end up moving towards that after a couple months or even a couple years. Like, again, everybody's on their own path. I didn't start this way when I was in my 20s. I gradually worked up to it. And now, I'm living, for me, my best nutrition and the best thing for my body. So you've got a bunch of different avenues to go, but hopefully that was outlined well enough that you can get started. All right. And then at the same time, really appreciate you tuning into all the previous Cabral concepts as well. But Elizabeth, maybe get your husband listening to some of the podcasts so that he gets the information and the content behind it, and then he wants to take action. Because honestly, like I've worked with people in my practice, and everyone in their family, they died in their early 60s, and they're past that now. They're well past that, and they look good because not only is their body in shape, but their inside's in shape because we're looking at their blood work. We're looking at all their labs. So I'm looking at all the different things, and I say, hey, if your blood looks good and your subclinical labs look good, meaning like the Dr. Cabral Big Five, I mean, you're probably going to be fine because everything's good. Like we know all the causes of why people end up getting sick and dying at an earlier age. And unless there's a congenital defect in the heart or the lungs or the liver or anything like that, you should be fine. I mean, you really should. So that's what we can look at. We can look at the body as obviously it's this combination of mind and body. If we want to look at the body as just a machine, well, we can typically fix the machine, but we want to work on the whole body at once. So, all right, that's that with that. I want to get into a couple more questions today. So I'm going to kind of make sure I get through these. Lizzie's asking next. My husband had a persistent rash on his face that seemed to come out of nowhere. In January, it started. It looked like tiny pimples and red dots all over his forehead, nose, and cheeks. Subsides slightly and then comes back. It's not itchy, but more prominent when he gets out of the shower. It started to become more itchy in February. Got some dry skin on his face. He has toe fungus for years and from sports in college. What could be causing this rash? He eats very little protein. When he does, it's crappy chicken. Lots of veggies, and he does have a massive sweet tooth. He's 37. He's going through a jobs transition. Thank you. All right, Lizzie, I mean, in my opinion, is kind of like guilty till proven innocent. It sounds like candida overgrowth and a candida fungal-based rash. We don't know that for sure. Pretty easy though. Have your husband little small sample of urine first thing in the morning. You can do it on a Monday through a Thursday, any one of those days. Mail it right back to the lab. I will personally read your husband's results, and then you'll speak with someone on my health coaching team. Whether it's you or your husband, we'll give you the plan, and we'll show you the data that shows if he has any of those things. So we'd run an organic acids test, a stool test, and I would run a food sensitivity test. I mean, really, it sounds like that. He has toenail fungus. Sorry, I apologize. He's got the rash. So really, if you want the full gambit, and we give a nice discount on that as well to run all those 3 labs if you want, it's at least $100 or $200 off. So check that out. Just go to stephencabral.com/podcast/884 for today's show. And you can just click on organic acids test, or go to equilibriumnutrition.com and just click on the labs tab, and you'll find any of those. Just, see what works best for you. But that's what I would look at. And then, of course, if you don't want to run the labs, you could just start on the Candida and bacterial overgrowth protocol, followed up by the Heal and Seal, the gut rebuilder. So hopefully that helps. Terry is up next. I just purchased your digestive enzymes. Do I take this 15 minutes before each meal, or only the first meal in the morning? If then works all day with just taking in the morning. Thank you. All right, Terry, great question. Very common. So the ideal way to take a digestive enzyme is 10 to 15 minutes before every meal, okay? Because it works by going into your stomach, and then as you put the food into it, all of the different enzymes. We've actually talked about enzymes quite a bit today. So this was fun because I don't always get to talk about enzymes. And enzymes are honestly, they're like one of the top vitamins you could possibly take. They really are. Here's why. It's not even a vitamin, right? It's an enzyme. So enzymes literally help you break down your food better. And so if you break down your whole food better, you actually extract more of the nutrition. It's an amazing thing. Like enzymes, people are like, oh, when should I stop taking my enzymes? I'm like, well, typically we can wean people off after like 12 weeks to 16 weeks, but you can take them for the rest of your life, and they give you more energy because you use less energy for digestion. So they really are fantastic. 10 to 15 minutes before every meal. You don't need to do them before a smoothie if you don't want to save money, because the smoothie's already been blended up and it's been basically pre-digested. So hopefully that helps. Okay. And for larger meals, you're welcome to take 2. Now, one caveat is that everybody on my wellness-based protocols just basically takes all the supplements mid-meal. And the reason is simply convenience, ease of use. And I'm asking them to take them basically throughout the day. They might take some upon waking before bed without food, and then they might take the other ones with food, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So simply ease of convenience. We do all of them mid-meal. They will still work perfectly fine that way as well. But if you want to do it by the letter, then you'll take it before the meal. All right, Catherine's up next. I want to get in 2 more questions. Hi, Stephen. I regularly listen to your podcast. I would love it if you could help me out. Here's a bit of information about myself. I'm 24, came off the pill about 2 years ago, and got bad acne all over my face. Became intolerant to dairy. I have recurring yeast infections in my lady regions. I've completed your 3-month parasite cleanse and saw lots of parasites coming out in my poop and feel much better for doing it. However, I'm still getting yeast infections. I've figured out a candida gut issues. Would you recommend any other tests apart from the organic acids test? I'm not sure if my hormones could still be imbalanced. I have cut out a lot of foods, and I used to eat such as bread, refined sugar, etc. Okay, absolutely. I would recommend the organic acids test and the stool test. If you don't want to spend the money on the food sensitivity test, totally understand. And the organic acids test and stool test would absolutely be number 1 and number 2. After that, you would run the thyroid adrenal hormone, and we would do that to help you figure out your hormonal-based issues. Let's make sure your gut is cleaned up, though, and figure it out. You saw a lot of parasites coming out in your gut, so we're most likely looking at definitely an imbalanced microbiome because the parasites got to reside there in the first place. I'm so happy you did our parasite protocol. People really get amazing results with that. I mean, we use some very powerful products for that, and it works great. It's only 6 weeks. So I'd run the organic acids test next, and if you can do the stool test, I would run that along with it. If you're able to do one more, the thyroid, hormone, adrenal will give you the answers. Remember, I will personally review your lab, and then you will speak with one of my amazing health coaches, and they will give you our recommendations. Okay, Annie's up next. Hello, I've been suffering with halitosis for 15 years. I've been every specialist that is out there. I even had my stomach biopsied, and I've been to several dentists and gum specialists to rule out oral health care, and everyone tells me I'm fine and cannot find anything wrong. My breath smells like feces, and I don't know why. Please Please tell me where to start. Do you accept health insurance? Thank you. All right, Annie, honestly, I can easily answer this for you. I really can. This is something that we've been doing for at least a decade as well. Here's the deal though. Simply go to stephencabral.com/podcast. Type in halitosis. Check out the previous podcast on that. After you're done with that, go to stephencabral.com/podcast, then type in bad breath. You'll get even more shows on this. I talk about this. If it's not gingivitis, if it's not literally poor oral hygiene, meaning like you should be flossing every night, you should be brushing your teeth twice a day, you can gargle or oil pull. So if you're not oil pulling, do some coconut oil or do some sesame oil. Totally fine. Easy to do. Okay. If you've done that, well, you're basically taking care of the oral care, right? So that's done. The next thing, almost always, like I would say 9 out of 10 times, not 10 out of 10, but 9 out of 10 times, because the other 1 out of 10 could be actually the oral issue with people not getting the food caught out between their teeth. You can also use a tongue scraper. Again, just go to stephencabral.com/podcast, type in tongue scraper. You'll see what that is. All right. So that's done. That's easy. Now, here's the deal. A lot of people have bacterial overgrowth in their stomach and intestines. And if you think about it, it's basically like rotting food down there. And as it rots, because of this slow digestion, you smell what would smell like the bottom of your garbage disposal or trash, because it's very, very slow moving. We need to speed up bowel motility. So again, digestive enzymes, I didn't plan this. The digestive enzymes are coming up again. I would take a digestive enzyme with every meal. But really what I would do is this, get to the bottom of this. Run the organic acids test, run the stool test as well. Here's why. The stool tests I've been recommending more. Here's why. A lot of people come back with H. pylori, okay? H. pylori is an infection that affects the stomach. It can affect other parts of the body as well, but mainly that stomach. That stomach-based issue can lead to cardiovascular issues. Lots of issues out there. Acid reflux, silent reflux, all sorts of issues. Okay, so you run the stool test. That will let you know about parasites. It will let you know about H. pylori. It will let you know about bacterial overgrowth, okay? Then you'll run the organic acids test. That will let you know about candida overgrowth, Clostridium difficile, and a bunch of other great markers. Those are your top 2 to run, okay? Honestly, if you never run anything else, totally fine with me. If you run those 2, we'll be able to figure it out. We will give you our recommendations. We'll help to get rid of all that bacterial overgrowth or candida overgrowth or H. pylori or whatever it is. And I already gave you the oral health-based care. But remember, you can also type in oral health. And I did a whole podcast on basically like the oral health routine that you can do as well. So hopefully that was helpful. We did a nice long Cabral house call today. I wanted to get through a bunch of questions. I want to catch back up. Really appreciate everybody writing in. I want to say this as well. Very, very much appreciate, so grateful for all of the new iTunes reviews that have come in. I just spent yesterday, I actually read every single one of the new ones that came in. It means so much to me. It really does. I really appreciate all the 5-star reviews, all of the kind words. I mean, if I don't know if I'll ever get to speak to you in person, but just being able to read those things, it's amazing. I really do appreciate it. Love this community. Thank you so much. And I will chat with you tomorrow on our Motivation and Mindset Monday. Stay tuned. And for all of today's show notes, go to stephencabral.com/884. Take care, everyone. Are you ready to heal yourself and then go on to heal others? If so, the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute can help you discover proven functional medicine protocols that blend the best of 7 different healing disciplines from around the world. I personally share with you the exact handouts and protocols I use in my private practice that enable people to get well, lose the weight, and live longer, stronger. I want to pass this information on to the next generation of health coaches, and that is exactly why I created IHP. We are the future of the health coaching industry, and the skills and knowledge you will learn will make you an in-demand certified health coach anywhere in the world. Although we have many medical professionals taking the IHP certifications, no experience is necessary, and half our members have no previous health certifications. At the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute, our motto is a health coach in every home. Our goal is that you take this knowledge and then share it with family, friends, loved ones, your community, or in a practice where you create a career you love and can be proud of. The global IHP community is filled with some of the most kind and caring people in the world, and we can't wait to welcome you into our world soon. For more information or to set up a discovery call with one of our IHP Health Coach graduates, simply head over to integrativehealthpractitioner.org.